Hello, medical terminology students. We are in chapter 10, the cardiovascular system. All right, so let's start off with the heart. You can see this is kind of like a view of the body looking down this way. So you can see that the heart is right there. Actually, trying to think. Yeah. Oh, actually, no, this is backwards. Sorry. This is a view upwards of up, going up this way. All right. This picture is on page 316 in your book. Shows really the where the heart is located at. And then we're going to go into a little bit more about the heart, the functions of the heart, pump blood, it routes blood, regulates the blood supply, where it can initiate hormones that will initiate creation of new blood if we don't have enough. So let's take a look at the heart wall structure. This picture's on page 317. This is the inside of the heart, and you can see we've got the wall structure, but there's different components to it. So we have our endocardium, our myocardium, our epicardium, pericardium, and then a couple other terms that you'll hear are visceral, which we've already talked about in another chapter, and then parietal. The coronary circulation, when we refer to coronary circulation, we're referring to the actual coronary arteries that are like surround the heart. Not our circulation goes through our body, but this is the blood that actually is going to feed the muscles to our heart. So we already talked about the term endocardium, myocardium, and pericardium. So what do we do with that term in order to change it into an adjective form? Pretty simple. You're just going to change that ending suffix. We change it from um to al. So endocardium becomes endocardial. Myocardium becomes myocardial, and pericardium becomes pericardial. Root elements, the definition, let's take a look. Blood flow through the heart. We've got, this is on page 319 in your book. So I'll let you take a picture or take a look at how it flows through the heart. I don't need you to tell me the flow through the heart, not in this course, not for medical terminology, but you will need to know that for like your anatomy and physiology classes. They will go into detail on how the blood goes into the heart, how it goes through the different ventricles, and then in through the lungs, and then out into your body, but not for this course. I'm trying to do this. If you take a look at this little statement, it just talks about the difference between, well, we have arteries and veins in our heart, and arteries typically go away from the heart, bring new or oxygenated blood out into the body, and then the veins return deoxygenated body back to the heart. But your pulmonary circulation is actually going to be opposite, where the pulmonary artery is actually bringing deoxygenated blood to the lungs, and the pulmonary vein brings oxygenated body back to the heart. All right, a couple of other terms you're going to see as far as these have to do with the heart. So bicuspid, interatrial, and interventricular. Cardiac cycle, again, you don't need to know the cardiac cycle for me, but knowing what systole and diastole mean, you might see that somewhere. So systole means to contract, distal means to dilate, and that has to do with the actual pumping of the heart. Pulmonary circulation, you can take a look at this picture and learn about pulmonary circulation if you want to. Again, this has to do with the blood that comes out of the heart to get oxygenated into the lungs and then goes back into the heart to go out into the body. The systemic arterial circulation, you can see here in this picture, you get a better picture on page 324, shows you the blood pumping out of the heart to the body and how it goes out. You can see in this picture that it's red, meaning that it has full oxygenation in it. Just some other root words and combining forms. And this has to do with different locations of where you can find your pulse at. Blood vessels, we have arterioles, capillaries, venules. And then we have our systemic venous circulation. And this is the opposite of our arterial circulation. And this is the good pictures on page 326 of your book. Now you can see that this is the blood coming back to the heart. And it's identified as blue because it doesn't have the oxygen in it. So it's coming back to the heart to get oxygen. So flowing back to the heart. All right, so where in the body would you find the following vessels? Some other root word elements? And then here we get into some disorders of the heart and the circulatory system. We have bradycardia, dysrhythmia, arrhythmia, tachycardia, palpitation. Now I've given you the definition. So what is the actual term? Paroxysmal fibrillation, palpitation. Heart wall disorders, endocarditis, myocarditis, pericarditis, cardiomyopathy, and cor pulmonale. Some actual heart disorders, angina pectoris, myocardial infarction. A myocardial infarction is otherwise known as a heart attack, cardiogenic shock, and thrombosis. And related to coronary artery disease, you're going to have, there's some these terms here that are related to that. So ischemia, atherosclerosis, arteriosclerosis, anoxia. So another common disorder of the heart and the circulatory system would be hypertensive heart disease, otherwise um, referred to as hypertension. These are some of the risk factors for hypertension or the causes of hypertension. And then we have different definitions or different categories of hypertension. So you have a primary hypertension. A secondary hypertension would mean that there's another underlying condition that's resulting in hypertension. So it'd be secondary, malignant hypertension, and then pre-hypertension. You can take a look at those more about those definitions on page 335 in your textbook. Circulatory order disorders, phlebitis, thrombophlebitis, deep vein thrombosis, and varicose veins. Here's some other terms that you might see: cardiomegaly, vasoconstriction, vasodilation, thromboembolism, thrombophlebitis, edematous, orthopnea. Procedures and pharmacology. Here's some diagnostic procedures: auscultation, electrocardiogram, cardiac stress test, Holter monitor, percentine thallium exercise testing, echocardiography, transesophageal echocardiography, cardiac catheterization, coronary angiogram, venogram, color Doppler, ultrasonography. Treatment procedures: thrombolysis, percutaneous transluminal coronary angioplasty, angioplasty laser, arthrectomy, coronary artery bypass graft. This coronary artery bypass graft has an abbreviation called CABG, CABG. So if you ever heard the term CABG related to the circulatory system, they're referring to a coronary artery bypass graft. Heart transplant. And then let's take a look at some categories of cardiovascular drugs. We have anticoagulants, diuretics, chronotropic drugs, antiarrhythmics, inotropic drugs, vasodilators. And then abbreviation, you can see, again, the abbreviations are in that table in the very, at the very end of the chapter. Same type of table as before, where you're going to see AED, CHF, CPR, ECG, EKG, SOB, and STAT. That's it for chapter 10.